Hello and welcome to another StarCraft 2 co-op video. Today we'll be looking at another post from a Chinese forum about the upcoming mutation.
For most people, this will be a pretty easy mutation. However, short-sighted forces melee combat, and diffusion hurts nearby units, so there's a bit of mutator synergy. Overall, though, the mutation isn't very difficult. Amon Zealots will have more of a presence. If the enemy is Terran, beware of ghosts. Also note, be careful not to get killed by diffusion when expanding. In the early game, some commanders might not have enough anti-air firepower to take out the shuttles due to diffusion, so you may need to prepare some evacuation measures, and think of a way to take out the 6 mil shuttles in the last wave. Commanders that hard counter the mutation. Dihaka P2. I would say Dihaka is the best commander for this one. The 3-pack leaders are immune to diffusion, and you don't even have to do anything. This makes dealing with attack waves really easy. Just summon one whenever there's an attack wave. Except for Glevig's Breath, just A-move them at the enemies. Even though diffusion reduces the pack leader's damage output by 25%, this is plenty for the unbuffed enemies. Xeris Banlings will deal plenty of damage to shuttles and escorts before they get killed by diffusion. Even though Tyrannizers supposedly can take care of mineral shields automatically, Dihaka doesn't lack minerals in the late game, so don't bother breaking the mineral shields. Zerto Non P3. Zell Naga observers are so famous for dealing with short-sighted that some people mistakenly think they also deal with Afraid of the Dark. Still, your units have kept their distance, so they don't die to diffusion. Lastly, make ambushers or enforcers depending on the enemy comp. Even though the yellow avatar is affected by short-sighted, it still gives a bit of vision. Save it for the big shuttle waves. P1's Void Seeker can give vision in a wide area. Commanders that don't hard counter the mutation, but are not a bad pick. Tychus P2. Lone Wolf is still Lone Wolf. Take note of where you click when you use abilities, as well as your positioning. As long as your grenade one-shots enemies, there won't be any diffusion. Odin and Sam, when he uses Super Cloak, are also immune to diffusion. Swan P2. Use your knowledge of map timings to deal with the attack waves using the top bar. Use towers to defend the conduits. Between waves, make a lot of floating factories to get vision for your turrets. In the mid-game, if you have resources to spare, you can consider making Flaming Betties to automatically get rid of mineral shields, and then leave some workers to automatically repair. After all, I'm only afraid that Tower Swan doesn't have anywhere to spend his extra cash. Meng's P3, alternative version of Swan, and can also gas attack waves with proper timing. Defend conduits with bunkers. ESOs can also give vision, so they can be used when defending against the ships. Map knowledge and timings are more important than Swan. If you can't remember the timings, leave some units at the spawn points beforehand. If you're too lazy to even do this, then use the commanders I mentioned earlier. Carrax, you'll be short on energy in the early game. Aside from the shuttles, use Solar Lance more often and Orbital Strike less often. Use Orbital Strikes on the shuttles when they bunch up. You also need to make some Stargate units to get vision for your towers. Commanders that have counters but don't counter the mutation. Stukov P1. Yes, Queens can counter short-sighted. If your ally is someone strong like Tychus, Zeratul, or Stepman, this synergy will be good. However, it's hard to say what units you should make. If there's double-edged, Liberators can rely on the 85% damage reduction and shift-click the shuttles. However, with only diffusion, you'll have to constantly repair the damage done to them. In the end, I copied Tutu's strat of defending shuttles with bunkers and adding Diamondbacks. I made good use of the top bars to save money to repair the bunkers. It felt like using Raynor. P3 isn't really that good because it doesn't deal enough damage to the shuttles due to diffusion, but it seems okay in the late game in a duo? Diamondbacks can also patrol to automatically take out mineral shields, but you have to remember to repair with workers. The week after is Happy New Year, L&L lucky envelopes and fireworks.
One minor mutator synergy this week is when you destroy the mineral shields, your static defense and workers will get hurt since they're forced to be in melee range. Short-sighted and diffusion both require you to focus, so when you're fighting in multiple fronts, you'll have to control your units more than usual. But that's all. As for enemy comp, it'll be more annoying if there are zealots in the early game because they will get up in your face. For things like zerglings, they're easy to kill, so they're not so bad.
What does be careful not to get killed by diffusion when expanding mean?
It means that when you're doing things at multiple fronts like the person before you said, and you don't notice that your unit dies. After all, when you break the rocks, don't you usually just put a unit there and leave it? The most typical example is when diffusion kills workers. When I played this, I didn't really need to defend multiple fronts, so I could just focus on breaking rocks. However, it somehow made things die more easily.
Short-sighted and diffusion make expanding a nightmare. Other than that, as long as you find a way to get vision, it's not really a big deal. The real problem is mineral shields and diffusion. Army commanders need to pay attention to the health of the workers, then either leave some workers behind, or use your allies or your own malignant creep. Of course, you can also use high damage units to destroy the mineral shields in one shot. Rainer, make more OCs skin more. Tanks and Vikings have long range, so they do the fighting. Generally, I recommend using Vikings against the shuttles, and leave the ground units to Swan or some other commander that's good against ground units, such as Nova with her 700 mineral airstrike. Kerrigan, you can say that her short-range problem will make things very, very annoying. You need your ally to help you get vision, and then use the long-range lurkers to deal with ground units. However, if you're up against air enemies, it's over. Hydras are trash to begin with, and Muta's range is too short. Artanis, a mutation where Dragoons don't have to worry about overkilling stuff at all. Be sure to spread observers to get vision. Swan. Fun fact. Swan's SCVs regain HP automatically. You can attack the mineral shields without worry. As for your ally, you have to see whether he's Terran Protoss or Zerg. However, Swan doesn't really have any ways to get vision, so he needs his ally to help him get vision to utilize the strength of his tanks and turrets. Go crazy with Baneling Scourge. If you run out of money, just wait for death. Carrix. Once enemies get close to the monoliths, you can let Amon hit himself. Akbathor. Use his full Biomass Dragoon Warp Gate movable Yesos to deal with the problems, but they can only deal with half, because diffusion will greatly increase the time needed to extinguish enemies. Also, he has no good way to get vision. Alarit. Ascendants can throw psionic orbs to blindly take out enemies. Or, Vanguards and Wrathwalkers can utilize the allies' vision to create a chain reaction. Nova. Airstrike, nuke, sabotage drone can take out all the enemies. Liberators and tanks obliterate the ground enemies, but have trouble fighting air. This is a problem that Nova has always had. She doesn't have a detector that deals with short-sighted. Stukov. Diffusion reduces the damage of all units to an average of 50%, so commanders with a lot of units like Stukov are pretty good. However, he's better off using Queens. With P1 mech, you can use Liberators against the shuttles, since Liberators' damage reduction is calculated before armor. Therefore, Liberators are pretty much immune to enemy air units and diffusion. With P3, flood the enemies with Infested. Use Liberators to deal with the shuttles in advance. Lastly, you must make a few Queens to give detectors, or your own Liberators the symbiote to counter short-sighted. Phoenix. With diffusion, you can use the Rock Slapper to fight air units. But for real, I don't recommend using Phoenix this week. Your objective is the shuttles. Their path is often different from the attack wave, and they come with air escorts. Stetman. Zerglings have hardened shields. Hydras and Corruptors attack the shuttles. Just remember to overcharge the green zone when fighting head-on, Tychus. Once you find a way to deal with short-sighted, everything will be better.
Zeratul, you'll win as long as you don't use P3, Mensk. When you use SOs, the circle will provide vision. You can use this knowledge to help your rocket troopers attack the shuttles. However, there's a limit to the number of rocket troopers you can make. Your ally must prepare enough anti-air to make this work.
In particular, Terrans often go CC first at the expo. Normally, when they make the CC, they rally their workers to the minerals. Before attacking the rocks, make the workers mine from patches that are far from the rocks. With diffusion, doing this will result in the SCVs exploding.
Those who like using Zerglings or Stukhov's free civilians to break the rocks will get wrecked.
Stukhov's units are free. If they die, they die. Also, Stukhov's early game economy will be completely ruined this week.
Countering mineral shields. Zagara can use bio-launchers and target the minerals. 100 damage means that you don't have to worry about all the other effects that result from destroying the mineral shields. Stukov can patrol Diamondbacks with a slime upgrade. But don't F2A. Abathur's symbiotes will automatically attack mineral shields. You can put your Brutalisk in an Overlord, and then you won't F2A your Brutalisk away. You're mainly relying on your Zerg solar bombardments, so having 3 fewer Brutalisks isn't going to be a problem. Han and Horner's mag mines and grenades from Flying Reapers will automatically take out mineral shields, but the CDs often won't match up. Dhaka's primal hosts will automatically attack mineral shields, but it only attacks one of the mineral shields in its range. There's also the CD problem. Guardian's ability will automatically attack mineral shields, but it also has a CD problem. However, the simplest way to counter mineral shields is to have the center of your CC be more than 9 units away from the minerals. Then the mineral shields won't appear. Short-sighted. Raynor should make more OCs to counter this mutate. Stukov can use his Queen's symbiote to give +3 vision. If your ally is Han and Horner, you can put it on a mag mine while it's arming. It's like having extra vision for 3 minutes. He can do the same to an uprooted bunker and then having it sit down. Units controlled by the Alexander aren't affected, so if you don't upgrade mech attack, you can utilize this vision a bit longer. If you give these mind-controlled units a symbiote, they'll have even greater vision. P0, 1, 2, Zeratul. Level 3 observers aren't really affected. P1's Super Cloak also gives a large area vision, but the duration is too short. Mengsk's Yesos can give vision.
And that's it for this post. What advice do you have for this mutation? Comment it down below and I'll see you next time.